Everybody, this is Travis Robbins from Robbins Rehabilitation West, and you're watching this video if you have some questions about bone-on-bone arthritis. So that's something that we commonly hear when our patients come in. Hey, I went to the doctor, I got some x-rays or an MRI, and they say that I have bone-on-bone arthritis. I kind of wish doctors would not say that because I think when you hear that, you might think that there's no way to fix this ever, or if it's going to get fixed, it's going to need a surgery, which is just not the case. We have lots of patients that come in that have diagnostic findings showing bone-on-bone arthritis in lots of joints in the body, but for the most part, it's hips and knees and shoulders. Those are the most common places to have that kind of arthritis. And I just want you to know that it doesn't mean that you're going to have pain forever, because I think a lot of patients kind of get that in their head. So it's going to give you some quick tips right now about how to improve that. And you'd be surprised how quickly and easily it can be improved. I'm not going to promise you your pain's going to completely go away forever, but all of these things will help you improve. Before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about biology and a little bit about arthrokinematics and a little bit about some anatomy so you have some understanding. Cartilage is like this really smooth surface that lays over top of bones. And when two bones come together, that makes a joint. Inside of most of the joints of your body is synovial fluid or a synovial type joint, which means there's kind of like oil in the joints. So it's fluid that kind of gets into the joints and helps with lubrication. It's very similar to the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. As silly as that might seem, squirting some oil into the Tin Man's joints, got them going. It's kind of what happens with synovial fluid, and we'll explain how to improve your quality of synovial fluid and quantity of it, which is the two things that you really need. That surface is so slippery, and there's nothing that we have been able to do to replicate that surgically. There's tons of amazing orthopedic surgeries out there. There's nothing that we can do that can remake that cartilage. Cartilage, go right now, if you have a second, take a piece of ice, put it on a piece of glass, slide it back and forth, and feel how slippery that is. Cartilage is 7 times slipperier than that. So we have nothing synthetic that we have been able to create, meaning man-made, that we can put in a joint that will do as good a job as what was originally put there. That being said, there are lots of people that walk around with bone-on-bone arthritis that don't have any pain at all. So just think about that for a second. Meaning, if you have no knee pain, but you're kind of on the higher end of age in terms of how humans calculate that, and you go to a doctor and get an x-ray, you can have diagnostic findings that show severe arthritis. By the way, arthritis is a measure of how close two bones are together. So the two that we kind of talk most about is the knee. So you get your tibia and your femur. And when you look at that on an x-ray, so if they are really close together like this, then that's arthritis. That's what they'll typically call like bone on bone. If it's spaced further apart, like if you took your teenager that's had no injuries at all, their space is going to be further apart than someone who's my age in my mid 40s, because that cartilage will wear down. It's part of the natural aging process. And we know that because lots of people have no pain but have bone on bone arthritis. So keep that in mind. Things that you can do to try to improve if you have bone on bone pain and osteoarthritis, typically that's going to be on one side. So if you have it in both knees or multiple joints, that might be more of a systemic issue. Maybe I'll do another video about that. But osteoarthritis typically on like one side, typically a side that has had a previous injury. So the mechanics, the biomechanics of foot, knee, and hip have been thrown off in some way by some old injury, or there might be just an existing injury to that knee if we're talking about knees. Maybe you played sports in high school or college and you had a surgery or you had like a small meniscus tear that was either diagnosed or not diagnosed. But it'll typically be on one side. It's stiff when you get up in the morning or when you're sitting for a while and go to get up. As you move around, it gets a little bit better. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. But in terms of things that you can do in order to help out with that, and I'm going to go over some counterintuitive ones first, is sleep. So that has become more researched and has better backing in terms of the positive effects of sleep. There's no shortage of stuff you can read on that. I'm telling you right now, if you improve your sleep quality, then that will decrease your osteoarthritis complaints. Like if you have a knee that's kind of stiff and sore, if you sleep better, not necessarily more, but improve sleep quality, then that will help out. Improving your diet. So there's lots of things that most humans eat that are inflammatory. So osteoarthritis and ITS is inflammation. So just simply cutting out some high inflammatory foods in your diet, which can be, it's simple, but not easy, right? So maybe cutting out dairy and grains. Those are kind of the two most inflammatory things. Lots of people have sensitivity to lots of specific foods, but without going to a doctor and getting a whole panel of tests, if you just kind of eliminated those things, that would help. Um, Hydration, that's super important. You cannot imagine how much joint pain is related to just a lack of fluids in your diet. So for hydration, what we're talking about is in general is take half of your body weight and drink that in ounces. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'm going to drink 100 ounces of water a day. That is a lot of water for most people. Don't start today and do that. Kind of build up to it. But the more water you take in, the better your joints are going to feel. And that kind of makes sense, right? So your body is mostly water. That synovial fluid that is in there is made up a lot of water. So if you provide more hydration for it, your knees are just going to do better. Walking more, although it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Because maybe because of your arthritis, walking can cause pain. I promise you, if you can kind of slowly increase the amount of time that you're walking, even push through a little bit of that discomfort, that muscle contraction and relaxation will help to pump inflammation out of the joints and at the surrounding areas of the joints. So walking more to your tolerance will definitely help out with that. Get stronger. So just a good general strengthening program. I'm not saying you have to go to a gym and start squatting and deadlifting, although if you come into our practice, you're probably going to do a little bit of that, especially if you have osteoarthritis in your knees, because strong joints are healthy joints. So just getting stronger, even if it's body weight squats, basic type stuff that we would do in physical therapy, that was going to be really helpful for you. Got to get flexible. So think about compressive forces. So if you have muscles that are tight on the front and the back of your legs, so typically that's your quad and your hamstrings, if those muscles are tight, then when they get to the end range, they'll put more pressure into the joint. So if you've got two bones that are coming together like this, and you just put more pressure into those, and then you start to move because those muscles are tight, that can cause increased inflammation, irritation. So if you can get more flexible in the big muscles in the front and the back of your leg, then that will be super helpful. Any questions about any of that, there's no shortage of ways to contact us here. Obviously, if you're having a lot of pain with walking and moving, that's something that physical therapy can help out with. So if you want to contact us and set up a free screen with one of our PTs to get everything checked out, then we would love to do that for you. Thanks for your time, and I hope this helped.